welcome to Movies, Films, and Flicks. I am Mark Hoffmeyer, and joining me is a Morton Hakim Robinson.
Hey, everybody.
Hey,
how you doing, Mark?
Oh, I'm just no complaints, man. I'm just hoping that this episode's more than mediocre.
Oh well, we got a good film to talk about, so let's hope so. Yeah, let's see.
All right, so you've joined me before. We've talked about the final fights in the Blade movies, and when I asked you what movie you want to do next, you brought up Mad Max Fury Road. So how come this is the movie you wanted to talk about?
This movie for me is one of the great action films. Like, I think about action films, I think about The Great Escape, I think about Shogun Assassin, I think about films that I watch and I just can't take my eyes off of it. So I went to the premiere of Mad Max Fury Road before it even came to the theaters. And I'll tell you, I was blown away by this film. And just watched it knowing that, because I could tell most of this stuff was real, practical, and then come to find out 80 to 90% of this film is practical. So for me, I mean, as a director, right, and I know how hard it is just to shoot dialogue scenes, just to shoot two people sitting at a table talking, like to get something authentic. The stuff that George Miller did in this film, I'm just kind of speechless. So, when we started talking about films that we can talk about, films that are going to really help other people understand what filmmaking is. I mean, he went back to the essence. So for me, it was no contest in what the next one was going to be. So Fury Road was it for me.
And you picked, so I love to do my research. And so I'm on probably this is almost maybe episode 300 of the MFF podcast. And I don't think I've ever found a movie with just more research. There's articles with the visual effects, about the production design, about the special effects, about the long build up to this. The New York Times just released an excellent oral history of the making of this film. I mean, there is so much to read. I mean, this is an action film that was nominated for 10 Academy Awards, and it won for editing, costume, makeup, sound editing, sound mixing, production design. You and I taught at a college. We taught film. And I remember you taught sound design, and some of your students were talking about how you showed this to them. I mean, imagine doing the sound editing or sound mixing on this movie. It sounds beautiful, but how tough would that be?
Man, this film has when you talk about sound for film, what you're trying to do is you're trying to immerse the audience even deeper into the film with sound. And what they did with this film is just, I mean, like I said, when I think about the film, I'm almost speechless, but it really goes into the essence of what sound design is for, and with this film, like you said, there's so much history on this film. This film was supposed to have been done in 2003, I believe, with Mel Gibson doing Passion of Christ, and then the problems that he was having, they had to push it back. And George Miller doing, I think, with Happy Feet and Babe, the other animated child film. Everything about this film, you talked about editing. His wife edited this film. I
love that. I love what he had to say about her. They asked when she asked why he thought she should take on the project, as she had never edited an action film before. Miller replied, "Because if a guy did it, it would look like every other action movie." And so Margaret Sixel, the editor, she had hundreds of hours of 3-4 second shots, man. And I loved reading about the editing process on this. Like, that's an episode in itself. It really, this is Mad Max Fury Road could be a 20-part series, hour-long episodes. It really could, easily.
It could.
And so we got to condense it down to whatever we do here. No, sorry to jump in on you there, but I love what he had to say. And you know what's interesting too is the way that he edited this. He wanted everyone in frame he was very conscious of the audience's eye. So whenever they transition into something else, he wanted it to be in the same spot where the audience's eyes just were. So this is one of those action movies where sometimes you watch action films and you're like, I have no idea what's going on. Every almost action moment in this makes sense. You have the polecats, the cars, the doors, the wounds, the various cars chasing each other, the cars slowing down things, this, that, and the other. But it makes sense.
But here's the interesting thing. That's how I cut you off. But here's the interesting thing. George Miller storyboarded this before it was even a script.
Okay?
So So they had 3,500 panels of
Wow.
storyboards. Okay, so for him to do that much detail into the film before it was even written, so just like you said, every single shot was on purpose. And that's why, as a director, when I watch this film and I'm watching every single frame, I'm just wondering how. I mean, they were at a premiere with Robert Rodriguez, and he got up and asked George Miller, "How did you do that?"
Yes. Yep.
Like, how did you film this? Because even he knew that's not green screen.
Mm-hmm.
That's not CGI. That's real. So.
And Soderbergh said, I don't know how they're still not shooting it and how no one, everyone survived, which made me laugh.
Right.
Soderbergh moves notoriously quick, and he wondered how fast. Why aren't they still shooting this from a director who moves fast? And, this made AV Club's best movie of the 2010s. It was nominated for Best Picture. Okay. They went to Namibia, and they were out there for 9 months. Can you imagine the tent city they built? They had over 1,000 crew members in Namibia. I would love to see the tent city and truck city they built out there, right?
Yeah, like a city in its own.
And this movie would have been very stressful to work on. But just imagine how much downtime there was, too. Just getting the various shots. We'd be drinking a lot of coffee.
Oh, it'd be one of them things where you get as much downtime as you get uptime. So you're on set and you're standing around waiting for something to happen, and you know it's gonna happen, but you never know. And then they had sandstorms to deal with. They had the sand getting into the intake of the engines and disabling the vehicles, and
it's just every problem that arose. And they wanted to shoot in Australia, but all the rains came down, and then a normal barren area became very green and lush because of all the rains.
Mm-hmm.
And then they didn't even have the bookending scene at the Citadel. They had to go back for reshoots to do that.
That I didn't know.
Yeah, so they had the entire film. What they had was just the chase sequence. They did not have the Citadel. And so that scene at the end and some of the scenes in the beginning when you witness everything that's going on there, they had to go back
when he's giving the community the water.
Yeah, so when he's given the water and when he is Mad Max is running around being chased by the war boys, right. And at the end when they're being lifted up, and also they didn't have that. They had to go back for reshoots. And the studio, they were ready to just throw everyone out of the editing bay. They wanted to do it on their own. They were so sick of this movie. And then they saw the cut, and they're like, okay, you guys get your beginning and end. And then they reshot it. So this was, I was reading this article from the New York Times, really interesting read, an oral history. And in the oral history, they talked about how hard it was because George had his storyboards. And Tom Hardy and Charlize Theron were really at each other's throats because they were in cars together in 100-degree weather all the time without a script and not really knowing what they were doing. And
they had a problem with Miller.
And a lot of people bring that up like that's something major. But let's see you in the desert with someone for 9 months in the same situation. I know hindsight's 20/20, and they both look back at it saying they could have done bigger things. But you're in the desert for 9 months. You're supposed to be there for 5 months, and you don't. And Miller admitted that he was more worried about the safety of his stunts and his shots than his actors.
Mm-hmm.
But that's only natural. Like you and I, we did a day shoot. Remember that? We shot for 1 day with all of our students, and people were getting tired and frustrated.
Right. So just imagine 9 months. So that brings me to Coppola, Heart of Darkness with Apocalypse Now.
Oh gosh.
So you're talking about over a year to make a movie. The lead character having a heart attack or getting a heart attack while filming. So just for the listeners to know, when you're making a film, it's very intense, right? Very intense. And then when you have A-listers working with an A-list director, that's basically, if y'all don't know the history of George Miller, he used to be a surgeon. He was a doctor. So he's very thorough in what he's doing. And he's not going to let the A-listers, they are players in the film. So they have to trust. That's about actors trusting the director, but the director trusting the actors as well. So that whole relationship right there, and like you said, 9 months of sand. I think I would have had a fight or two myself, And Hardy had to get up at Cannes and apologize to George Miller, for being so difficult, But he's not the only actor that's difficult on set, That's a commonality in filmmaking.
Zoe Kravitz had something to say. Toast. I love her character in this movie. Toast. She's a badass. But I liked what she had to say about it in that she said that Tom would really go at George, but Tom was kind of number one on the call list, so maybe he was just pissed off about the general lack of everything. And so towards the actors and being stuffed in cars, and I mean the takes in this movie are 3-4 seconds, so where am I in character during this? But she also said that Tom went at George, and it was kind of sad to see, but she also said that she understood why Tom was doing it. We don't have much time on this earth, and they made a Stone Cold classic, but this is also 9 months of their life.
Right.
And who knows how much longer with pre-production. So I guess all these articles I'm reading about the frustration, it's like, you guys, the people writing these articles have never been on film sets before. I mean,
right.
To me, the fact that this movie got made and it came out the way it did is almost a miracle to me. I mean, they got the shots. I mean, they had hundreds of hours to edit. They got enough footage. They did it. They blew up stuff. They flipped everything. But I guess I get a little annoyed at all these people bringing up the arguments on set because, of course, there would be. I know I've said that 8 times, but you know how it goes, man. You shoot films. Like, people get frustrated on set. It's a heightened atmosphere.
So as you said, when you get critics that are not filmmakers, right, and they don't understand this, I mean, you wouldn't write an article about a person arguing in a house with their kids, or it's because you become a family on set, and you're gonna have disagreements. But the difference between being at home and being on set, time is money.
Yes.
And if we're arguing, and now you could just sit here and look at the set that they had and the landscape and where they were. They didn't have time to just sit around and just shoot the breeze. We got to shoot. We're losing daylight. How much are we going to get right now? So just like you said, it's a miracle this film got made. This film, as far as I'm concerned, there are blessings in film, in history. You can look at some films and look at cast and say, wow, they got a great cast and the things that they did. John Seal, the cinematographer for the film.
Oh, yeah.
He's done a few projects. He's done The Talented Mr. Well, he wasn't cinematographer for The Talented Mr. Ripley. I think he was a camera. But he did The Tourist. He did Spanglish. He did Cold Mountain. He did one of the Harry Potters.
An English Patient. He won the Oscar for that.
English Patient, yes.
And let's not forget the BMX Bandits.
Okay. All right, let's talk.
Early Nicole Kidman movie. And he also did the Hitcher with Rutger Hauer too. That's why that movie looks so good.
Right. Now that was a HBO production. That was a very good instrument for HBO when HBO was like making films. I think that was one of their better first films. The Hitcher.
And I gotta tell you something cool. Since you love your camera, you have a great camera. I love what they shot on this. So Seal came out of retirement to shoot the film, and he had 6 ARRI Alexa pluses, 4 Alexa MS, and then several Canon EOS 5Ds. You
know what those were for, right?
Yeah, kaboom.
Yeah, those were for the things they knew they were gonna blow up for the Cirque du Soleil
polecat
stunt people, the pole actors, right? So they really did their research as far as what they were gonna get out of the environment.
And he also had Blackmagic cinema cameras, dude, that were strapped to the heads of actors. And for the final scene where the rig flips and the doof warrior comes flying at the screen, they had a phantom camera.